Good morning, lovely people. How are you? It is lovely to see you. I'm Libby. I'm from the Truly Myrtle podcast. This is the Truly Myrtle podcast. I'm from Truly Myrtle. I design knitting patterns. I'm based down at the bottom of the world in New Zealand. And I'm also the founder of Wardrobe Toolbox. And that, my friends, is where you come to find out how to make garments fit you perfectly and lots of other knitting things as well. And join a great community. And the doors are going to open in September. The doors are actually opening in September. September the 18th, the doors are open, and you can come and join us and have lots of fun for season 10. It'll be season 10. So you can come and, they only open twice a year, September and March. So it's coming up. I'm going to remind you about it again and again because I don't want you to miss out. And I know some people do sometimes forget about it and they find out later. And so I'm telling you all about it. Now, I can see you jump on. It's lovely to see you. This is a live video, so you can chat to me in the chat box wherever you are. I go live onto YouTube and onto my Facebook page. Hi, Kim. It's nice to see you. So that's YouTube ticked off to tick. I was having a little bit of trouble. Hey, Tamsin, how are you on Facebook? Yay, I was having a bit of trouble with Facebook, so I was a couple of minutes late because I thought, no, sod it. I'm going to make it work on Facebook, I thought. So I did. So it's nice to see you, Tamsin. Hi, Maureen. Nice to see you too. You're feeling back and settled in this cool weather down here. It's so wet and rainy today. It's been moderately cold, but it's really, really rainy. Oh, it's a warm Scotland, Katie. Oh, you'll be enjoying that because I think the summer's been a bit on and off, hasn't it, over there this year? Hey, Claire. Nice to see you. It's wet and cold in Kimbolton as well. Yeah, it's a bit grey and sort of damp here today. Hey Sharon, nice to see you too. So I thought I'd tell you a couple of things. The first thing I wanted to tell you is I was doing some work yesterday and I popped over to Facebook, to our Hangout. We have the Truly Myrtle Hangout is over on Facebook. It's a group you can join. It's a free group. You just come and join up there. We just ask you a couple of questions when you come in and then we'll just sort of open the door for you and you can come in the group. And I noticed there were 5,000 people in the group now. So that's heaps of people. So 5,000 Truly Myrtle knitters over there knitting. And it's such a good place to come. If you, just want to talk about knitting and no one else will listen to you, come and talk to us over there. B, if you have a question about a Truly Myrtle pattern, now you can email us at hello@trulymyrtle.com, but if you want a fast answer, the best place to ask and to see pictures and examples and get lots and lots of input is over in the Hangout because 5,000 people are in there and you will find there are dozens of people that have knitted the pattern that you're working on, at least dozens, possibly hundreds, possibly thousands of people. So somebody will be able to help you. We're based from all over the world. It's a really international group. So if you're stuck, come and ask your question in there. It's a really good place to ask. And it's also a great place to post your photos. Just, this is my new yarn I got. I'm going to knit this new shawl of Truly Myrtles, or I'm working on this particular Truly Myrtle pattern. I'm looking forward to getting started, or I've just finished, or this is the one I really love. Here is me modeling my Truly Myrtle knit that I've just finished because I'm going to show you all what it looks like on me. And then if you have the same figure as me, you might want to make it like I did. And that is a really, really good one because, we all have different figures and it's good to see patterns on people that look like you. So I really encourage my wardrobe toolboxes to do that. And I encourage everyone in the Hangout to do that too. So you can do that. If you want to catch up with me in another way, you're welcome to join the group. I know Facebook isn't for everybody. Then you can sign up to my mini mag. So I will send you a replay of this podcast every week. It comes out every Friday morning New Zealand time and it will land right in your inbox. Now, if you're having trouble getting hold of it from me, check your junk box to see if it's in there. And if you've got Gmail, check promotions because often it gets put into promotions. And I've had a few people lately tell me they've found my email in their junk. So that's not great. So go and check your junk first. But if you're absolutely stumped and you don't know where it is, email me. For those people in New Zealand who have extra.co.nz, extra is a little bit of a pain. Extra likes to block all sorts of emails, so you might want to find another email address that you can use that isn't extra just for my mini mag. Sometimes they get through, but other times not so good. So if you want to sign up to that, you go to trulymyrtle.com/mini-mag, and you can jump on my mini mag list. There'll be one coming out tomorrow morning. I have all my discounts for the mini mag people, all the discounts. So they go in that mini mag. So if you want to get discounts on patterns, if you want to know what's going on, what's coming up, new patterns are being released, get a replay of this when you've sort of not checked in, you can watch all of those things. That's all of the stuff that you can do, that you can get from that email. So come and sign up. I think I'm a bit tongue-tied this morning. Perhaps that's the thing. Right, so nice to see you. Or Becky, you're back in bed. Or you're still in bed. Nice. What's it like in Sydney today? Hey, Carol, nice to see you. And someone is using their husband's account. That's all right, Lois. That's fine. Barbara, it's nice to see you. Oh, you're with Tamsin at the table. Oh, nice. So you're both there on YouTube. That's rather nice. Oh, knitting is warming. It is, Maureen, and a nice hot fire. If you can do that. It's hot and smoky in Reno, Nevada. Oh, nice. No, Katie, I think the Scottish. My sister's really north in the UK, and it sounds like there hasn't really been a fantastic summer yet, but maybe next year, maybe August, the last of the summer wine and all that. You might have a late flush. Hey, Elizabeth from Castle Hill in Sydney. It's freezing over here and often gloomy, but it's lovely knitting weather. We love it, don't we? But Mary Ruth says it's very hot and humid in New Orleans, Louisiana, USA. Oh, good. I'm sort of struggling to even picture that right now, Mary Ruth, but I will believe you and I will wait for summer to come. It's a beautiful sunny day in the south after a good frost. Oh, Terry, I bet the sky is blue. It'll be so crisp. It's my favorite winter weather. Hey, Barbara, nice to see you. Hey, Jean. I was a little bit late too, Jean. Don't worry. And Cheryl, oh, good. You had trouble finding me. Tracy, I was just a little bit late because I was fiddling around trying to make sure I could go live on Facebook and on YouTube, and I did it. So that was good. It just was a bit of argy-bargy. Hi, Michelle. Nice to see you. And Helen. 11 p.m. Oh, Bronwyn, I better get on with it then because it's so late for you. And it's same with Ruth in Gloucestershire. 11:10. Oh, Becky, you're coming to New Zealand next week. Oh, good. That'll be fun. That'll be really fun. Oh, you've moved back to Facebook, says Barbara. Okay, you've given up on YouTube. All right, now, I got an email yesterday. I just got it yesterday. I was going to talk to you about something else, but, I can talk about that another time. So I got an email yesterday saying, I always get stuck with blocking. I don't know what to do with blocking. Can you give me some tips? And I thought, actually, I think it might have been a message on the YouTube channel anyway. And I thought, yeah, why not? I'll do that. Let's talk a little bit about blocking. So I am surrounded by things to do with blocking. Now, do you know what blocking is? And how many of you actually block your things? Because I didn't used to know what blocking was. I never heard of this thing. I just thought it involved blocks. I was like, what is this blocking? It seemed an unnecessary extravagance to add on top of my knitting, even when I found out what it was. But I have to say, I am an avid blocker now, particularly a shawl blocker. I block my shawls hard. So blocking is the process when you've finished your knitting. You can either soak them, wash them as you would normally wash your knitwear, and then either stretch out your shawls to let everything sing, or lay out your garments just to make all the stitches settle and get it into the right size, and just have everything. It just finishes things off beautifully. That is the process of blocking. So you can either do it by soaking your work, and you can do it partway through too. If you're knitting top down and you get to about here, and then you want to join things in the round, well, to the fronts to the backs in this case, you might want to block this just to make sure it's working, just to make sure your yoke is long enough, just to have a check how it all sort of feels on you at that point. And you might decide to soak it and block it and do that, the really long method of letting it dry, or you might steam block it. I've got a couple of things to show you. I thought I'd show you this little beast that I got. And I think it was Sabrina, actually, who put me onto this a while ago. There was a sale of these in New Zealand, and I got one. They often have them on sale. This is a steamer. This is a Sunbeam steamer, and you plug it in. It's got a relatively long cord, and then you can, it goes on low and high, and it steams. You fill this part up with water at the bottom. You can see it's got, I don't know if you can see, but it's got a little bit of water in it. And then you push the button under here and you steam your work, your knitting, and it will settle things down. Now, you might be someone that you might have something that you make that you think, I'm actually never going to wash this thing. I'm just never going to wash it. It's going to be a really light shawl that I never wash, or maybe it's a, it's a whole bunch of brioche. I don't really want to wash that. Maybe it's a hat, and I just think, do you know what? I'm never going to wash it. Or you just want to test what's happening on your work, or you just want to give something a finish, like you've already washed it, it's already worn half the winter, it's got a bit creased, you've de-pilled it, and you might steam it. This is a really good tool to use if you're just not really wanting to do a full block. You can use an iron. Forever I used an iron, and I just filled up my iron and I just steamed everything. But I have to say, I rather love my steam blocker. It's really, really good. And I will whip it out if I'm doing little swatches, like on Wardrobe Toolbox. I do lots of tutorials and I do a lesson every month for everybody, and often I'll make samples, little samples of things or little swatches of things, and I will steam them with my steamer. And then you can get them really quite soaking if you steam them hard, and then I can pin them out and things if I want to, but I will use my steamer for that rather than soaking everything. So I just wanted to show you a steamer in case you're tempted, in case you see this lovely Sunbeam steamer on sale. It is worth it. I think it's worth it. It's a good buy. I got it for, I think it was less than $100. I can't remember now, but it was on special, and I've been so happy with it. So that was the steamer. Now, just to show you some of my more basic tools, and then I'll talk about some specifics on different individual items and how I would do things. So let me have a sip of my coffee first. My absolutely basic tools that I have that I do recommend. It's not often I say I think you should probably get something, but I do think these are really, really useful. If you're a shawl knitter, these are, I think, essential now. I didn't have all of them. I used to just have pins, and what I'm going to show you are pins and wires. So I've got this lovely tin. Tamsin will recognize it because she gave me this lovely tin, and I'm using it for my wires, Tamsin. So I keep them all in here, and these are pins and wires. Now, originally I just had pins. I might have had sewing pins once upon a time, but they're way, way too thin, and they bend, and it's hopeless. And if anything's wet, they'll get rusty. So I've got these pins, which are T-pins. I've got little T-pins. I'll show you a bigger one. And mostly I've got these big T-pins. And they look like this. Can you see that? They look like a T, and they're called T-pins. And they're really sturdy, and they need to be, because look, I bend them like with Billy-O when I'm blocking things. I'm pretty rough with them. And so I use T-pins to pin things out. So if I'm working on the edge of a shawl with lots of points, I put it in the point of the shawl, and I just pull it out and stab it down and hold it firm. It just makes things dry where you want them to go. But I had those at first. That's all I had. And I used gazillions of pins. Pin to pin out like a big shawl. If I had, I think, my early shawls, trying to think, I think Mindful Shawl was one of my early shawls. I don't think I had wires when I did that shawl. And I just pinned out in each of the individual points and let it dry. And I used to, what I do, I'll quickly tell you the process. It's a shawl. I soak my knit in just a little bit of baby wash, you could use a bit of baby wash, a conditioner, a little bit of wool wash is what I meant to say, wool wash. And I like the one that you don't have to rinse out. I think it's Euclan. I really like that one. Be careful of anything with eucalyptus because it can really strip out the colour of your yarn. So I soak it, not too much heat. You have it medium hot, and you just let it soak for about 10, maybe 20 minutes till it's really filled up with water. And then I give things a little squeeze. If you have used something you have to rinse out, then you'll need to rinse it out. That's why I love the Euclan, because you don't have to. And hair conditioner is great. So you give it a squeeze out, and then I lay out a big towel on the floor, a giant, like what do they call them? Bath sheets. I have a big bath sheet towels. Depends if I'm doing a pair of socks, it's not that big. But a big bath sheet, and I lay out like my shawls or my garments. I lay them all out, and then I roll them up like a sausage, and then I literally stand on them. And I stand on them up and down my sausage roll, squish, 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 and get all of the water out. Not the best of it out. It's still damp. I actually don't want it to be totally, I don't want things to be, I want them to be a little bit damp when I'm finished. So I unravel it out of I usually take my sausage, and then I used to have a big wool blanket, and I'd throw that out, and you could do things you could do it on the floor. If you've got carpet, it makes it a little bit easier if you're just using a wool blanket, because you can stab into the carpet. Or you could do it on a bed. What I do now is I use these. I've got tons of them, and I just got these at one of the hardware shops, and they go together like a jigsaw, and I've got tons. And I have to tell you that the sensation of pinning these pins into this foam is something else. It really is so satisfying. It's incredibly satisfying. And so you will love just the pinning action itself. I recommend that for that alone. It's very therapeutic. So I've got a whole bunch of those. I've got tons of them, and I put them out in the shape of the thing I'm making. Whether it's a long shawl, they can be long. I can make big squares. I can make T shapes, whatever I want. And I lay those out now, and then I put my knitting on it, and I arrange it more or less into shape, and that's when I pull out my pins and my wires. Now these are wires. I got this set here. I bought it many years ago. Lazadas knitting accessories, super flexible knitting blocking wire. I got the long set. I tell you on the back about how to use them. This had 5 blocking wires, 180 centimeters or 70 inches each long, 30 nickel plated T-pins. I've also got extra nickel plated T-pins. So I really love these. They have been fantastic. I know you can buy a little thin wire at the hardware shop. You could hunt that out. It needs to be pretty tiny. You unping these things. One of the things I like about them is you can store them so easily. But you unping them. I'll unping one for you. And watch this. It unpings. And so then you get this long wires. Sometimes I need to use 2, and I use 2 wires, and I just overlap them a little bit. But they are fantastic. And what I do is I thread those through the end of my shawl, my tips and things. Especially if it's got points, or if it's the top straight edge of a shawl, I will do it through that too. I need a voodoo doll. Yeah, I've got my black mats. I'm all good, Gwen. And I then, once it's threaded through, you then can pull it and pin. Pull and pin, pull and pin. And you don't have to use so many pins, because this goes through all of the points on your shawl or along the whole of the edge. Like if you've done a shawl that has lots of yarn overs down the edge, I would feed that through the yarn overs. Just feed it through. And I feed it through pretty much every one, almost every one. Certainly for points, I feed it through absolutely every one. And then you can just move the whole lot, because it takes me quite a long time to block a shawl and a garment. Actually, it takes me a really quite a long time. I generally do it on the floor. I'm crawling around. Honestly, my legs and my bottom these days, after I've done that, I can really feel it, that I've been crawling around on the floor for a while. But I crawl around and I just get things perfectly shaped, because that is your moment to do it. And so I'll lay things out more or less how I want them. I'll put my wires through, and then I will adjust, and I will adjust, and I will adjust until I'm standing back and I'm looking at the shawl in particular, and I'm thinking, all right, it's not quite symmetrical. I really like it to be done properly, and I like to really pull those shawls out, particularly if they've got a lot of lace in them. I'll talk to you about that in a second. So those are my basics that I use for my shawl blocking. I use those black pads. I soak them, the shawls and the garments. I soak garments always, and then I use my pins and my wires from my little tin. I've also got these pins, which I love. These are these ones, knit blocker. These are quite like pointy and dangerous, and I have hurt myself on these quite a few times. Look, even that one's got a bend in it. Poor little guy. I get really rough with them. So these come in a big size, and then you also have this little size, and they come in this little box. I probably could do with another box, I think, because I use these a lot. These are pretty handy. If you're just wanting to pull out a little bit, you can, especially a top edge, it can be quite good. You can just grab them and pull, And if you're doing like a button band and you want to make it absolutely straight, then where's the side there? You can just pop them in like that and then just pin them down, and so you can create quite a nice straight edge down that button band, because they can get a bit wonky on it, can't they? So those I adore. They have this little foam bit in the bottom, so you just stab it back in when you're done. And I always when I'm finished, I put everything back in the right place. That is essential for me. That is another essential tip. Everything has a home and everything goes back in the right place, and I know where it is at all times, because there's nothing worse than trying to find my blocking wires when I have a wet shawl ready to go, or a wet something ready to go. So I have all of those, this go back in there the minute I'm finished, and they go back on my shelf. And all my big ones of these, they're just stored over there by my big filing cabinet with my patterns in it, and yeah, I'm ready to go. Now, I've also got this. Now, to be honest, I've never used this, but I have got it, and I keep thinking one day I might use it, and I can see that it would be very useful. I might have got it for free at some point. It's a Cocoa Knits piece of fabric, which feels fairly polyester, acrylic-y, so it's not going to absorb water too much, which is a good thing in this case. And it's got all this gingham on it, so you can use it to give yourself straight lines, which I think is actually a really clever idea. And I think it would be particularly clever if you were doing a garment. It's not really big enough to do a great big shawl, because if you did a great big shawl, you'd have to do it on the diagonal, and even then it's not big enough. And so I think you'd get into a bit of a fuss lying two down. But if you could fit a garment on this, and you could make your everything beautifully square and straight, so it might well be useful for that. I haven't used it yet, but it's there just in case I ever need it, and I can't bear to I wouldn't get rid of it, because I just one day might decide I needed it. And then finally, my other essential piece of kit when I are blocking garments, this I cannot do without, is my tape measure. And I block my garments with a tape measure, and I have, from my pattern, I have the page that tells me all the finished measurements, or if I've made adjustments, I know what the adjustments are. I've written that down, so I know the new finished measurements. And then I lay it out on my pad like this with my different pads around, and I get my tape measure, and I start at the top. Actually, I usually start the shoulders, and I get the shoulder width right, and then I do the bust, and then I can do the hips, but then I need to do lengths, and then I do arms, and I always find I'm adjusting the arms, because in order to get the diameter of the sleeve that I want, I generally, when you lie it out, the sleeves are always going to be too long. They just are. The way the knitting goes, it just goes long into a sleeve, a long spaghetti sleeve like that. So I just yank it up, and I make sure the upper arm is the width, the half the circumference that I'm after, and then I make sure the length is right and the wrist is right, and then it's usually pretty easy to get that sorted. So then you don't end up with sleeves that are just long and quite tight. You actually block them so they're comfortable for you. And the same with the bust. Now, if you've put bust darts in, you could add a little bit of shaping under the bust dart to give a roundness of the bust. And you might do that with, depending on the size of your bust darts, you might do it with a small piece of pair of socks. You might do it with a bra, something like that. If you've got a firm bra, you might actually decide to add that in. It depends. You'll be able to judge depending on the amount of bust dart you've put in. I always make sure my waist shaping is included as well. So if I know that my waist shaping goes straight in, straight out, straight, right? That's how waist shaping goes. And so I make sure that it has that look. And the same with A-line shaping. Straight out, and then straight a little bit at the hem. And so I just align everything with my tape measure. My tape measure is essential. And then sometimes I get these little guys, and I will put those, I might put those as I'm going, say, just to secure the shoulders, this shoulder seam where I want it along the top, and then just to make sure if it's a cardigan that the button band is right. But I won't necessarily leave them in for the shoulders. I might leave them in to dry like that with the button band, but it depends on the weight of the fabric that I'm working with, because heavier fabric just stays where you put it often. Finer fabric generally wants to move. The other question is, do you put your buttons on before or after? I do both. Sometimes I put them on before, sometimes I put them on after. I think more often I put them on after I've already blocked everything. And if you're really worried about your buttons moving, you might then want to just steam the buttons just to set the stitches in place. It's a bit like when you're sewing, you steam things to set stitches. So you could do that. And then what I would do though, if I've got a cardigan and I know it's going to have buttons or it already has buttons, I do them up. Or at least I put the cardigan as if the buttons, I'm not doing this right, as if the buttons are done up. So I lie the bands like that on top of one, other way, on top. Oh God, it's so hard doing this back to front, you guys. I put it, you know what I mean, don't you? You know what I mean. I put it like that so it's closed, and so everything is as it's meant to be before I put it on. Because what happens then is you get a better fit when you actually put it on you. Even if it's not, you're never going to wear it done up, you get that nice little neck that wants to stay up, for example, in a cardigan. You just get a better fit when you go to put it on. All your stitches have settled down, your colour work has just all arranged itself so it's just so happy. Any lace you've got has opened up, and everything is just calm and happy and dying to be worn, so it fits quite well. Hi everybody. Oh, Terry says those wires look good. Mine are long straight ones that don't really bend. Yeah, those are super bendy. And Terry, I've had those I don't even know how long I've had those. So long. It could even, I don't remember, I may have even had them, I don't think I've had them 10 years, but it must be getting close to 10 years. They are as bendy now as they ever were. Tracy says I've got 2 boxes of the Knit Pro and often use both. Yeah, I really think I'm going to get myself another box of those because I love them. And Joan says the checked cloth is quite handy. Yeah, I can see that. Particularly if you are doing a garment, I can see that it would be handy just to help you align the. You know, I have this superpower, and it's a really bizarre superpower. But I can do straight line. I can just tell straight lines. It's really strange. It's very strange, but I'm very good with a straight line. So I can just, if you have to do something in the garden and you have to make it straight, I can just make it straight. It's quite strange. So I can see a straight line quite easily, but I can see that this would be just reassuring to know that you've got it right straight at that point and straight at this point, and that if you've got a shoulder that needs to go drop, I think these will be an inch square. So you can actually work to inches as well on this. And so you can drop your shoulder by 1.5 inches or whatever you're doing. I can see that would be pretty handy. So that's Coco Knits. You can get those all over the world, Coco Knit stuff. I love her stuff. It's very, very lovely. Okay, so I thought I'd show you just some examples of different things, blocking different things. And the first thing that is here, right on top of everything else. Actually, no, I'll show you these first because we've already talked about shawls. And I thought there are some shawls that you won't really need to use your pins for. And those are heavy shawls because once they've got a bit of water in them, these get really, really heavy. So this shawl, Silver Stream, of mine is like, it's an Aran weight yarn. It's like a heavy worsted. It's a really lovely thick yarn. I like wearing this one. It was actually over the back of my chair because I've been wearing it around my shoulders like that when I've been working, because it just keeps me cozy out here when I get a bit cold. And so this one, which is now, yeah, that's the right way. I didn't have to use pins for this one at all. It's quite heavy, and so once it's wet and the shape of it is like that, it sort of has a point and it goes up like that, and so I just arrange it how I like it. You might want to pin the corners down or something just so it doesn't, when you're arranging it, it stays where you want it to go. But really, once it's down, it doesn't go anywhere. So those sorts of shawls, even with a bit of lace in them, you can just open it up and you just won't really need to play around with it too much once you've done that. So that's quite a good one. If you are just nervous about having to do it without pins, you won't really need to use pins. And the same for this one. I blocked this one with no pins. I put the buttons on afterwards. I put the buttons on last on this one. But this is Flux, and she is also a lovely heavy yarn. I use Julie Esselin. Julie Esselin, is that how you say her name? Julie Esselin from Canada, her yarn. It's a beautiful tweedy. Again, it's like an Arony, very heavy worsted sort of yarn. And it's a long shawl. It's a long shawl that finishes with that super long edge with all the buttons on it. And then I do the little I-cord buttonhole. So if you want to make a real feature of these buttonholes, then you might put a pin in each one and open it and let it dry open. You could do that. I would block this. Would block this with a tape measure handy, the same for the other one, just so you know you're getting it to the size you want. But once it's wet, it's heavy and it's going to stay there. You might want to use just a couple of pins as you're going along, but generally it lies beautifully flat. There's nothing that's going to curl on this shawl, so it's easy one just to block. This is the one I wear around like that and then button it up. Oh, this is so cozy, this one. I haven't really worn it this winter yet. I think I might leave it out and then I might wear it a bit. I love that shawl. I love the colour of that shawl too. It's just so pretty. Okay, so there's those two heavy shawls. You can probably get away without blocking them. Blocking without. I'm worried my necklace is going to break. I keep having to make sure it doesn't break because it broke on me the other day. One of the ends came out. Anyway, you won't have to worry too much about pins and wires for those big heavy ones. But for things like this, you really, really will. And I thoroughly recommend using wires for this shawl. This is Vila. She's a lace weight shawl, so she couldn't be more different than the others. She's a long shawl. She's knitted from end to end. When you knit her, because this fringe, which happens on both ends at the beginning and the end, it's a really simple lace. I think it's a knit two together yarn over. It could be, I think it's knit two together yarn over for both of them. It biases because knit two together leans right, and so what you'll find is after you've finished, you're going to think, what on earth is going on with my shawl? Because it's going to bias off to the right, and then it will go straight, and then it will bias off to the right or left depending on what I did at the other end again, and you'll just think, flippin' heck, that looks weird. So you want to soak it, and you'll want to block it, and you'll want to use wires and pins to do a couple of things. One, to straighten her out, because if you put wires, one on either side, see how long she is? She's just long and skinny. I adore this shawl. Because she's long and skinny, you'd put a wire down each side, just right down each side. You might need a couple down each side to get the length of her. And then you would pull her out like that. Look how much she wants to squeeze in anyway. This is a silk merino. So you pull her out. She could do with a bit of a pull out, a reblock actually, to pull her out. And then she will open up all of that lace. So you want to do two things: straighten her up and open out her lace and make her long enough, because when you've finished her, she'll be just a little crumpled heap. She won't be much. You'll think, what am I going to do with that? But this is what you're going to do with it. You're going to stretch her right out and you're going to straighten her right up, and she will look magnificent lying out there on your blocking board waiting for you. And then when you wear her over time, she will slowly scrunch up, because you'll probably do what I do and you'll just grab her like that, and you'll be pretty rough with her, the poor thing, and you'll throw her on and you'll just chuck her on like that, and then you'll feel fabulous because she's so light and she's just a little bit warm. And you'll either nosh her up or you'd leave her like that, and she really is luxurious, absolutely luxurious. And she gets a bit scrumpled, and then I grab her and I stuff her in my bag and things like that. So every now and then you might want to reblock her, give her a soak and reblock her, or even just steam her and do it with the wires again. And I think I might do that before I go to knit August Nights this year, just give her a reblock. So that one is a perfect candidate. Vila, she is a perfect candidate for the tools I've just shown you. Perfect. The other one that's a perfect candidate for the tools I've just shown you is this one. Now you'll want to block this one for lots of reasons as well. This is Haven, and she is knitted from the side to side. So she's a lovely big triangular shawl. You can start in that point down there. Now I've got a tassel on the end, and then you knit a bit of garter and you add in a bit of eyelets, and you have the central spine, and off you go, and you're striping all the way, and she's so much fun. And then you come to this lace bit at the end, and then you finish with an I-cord, and look what we've got there, some beautiful points at the end, with just a nice little bobbly point. Those are really pretty. And you'll want to block this one because she's large and she's garter and she has lace and she has points. So all of those things will be accentuated when you block her. The garter will ooze. When you first knit the garter, it's going to be quite close to each other. All these garter ridges will be quite close. Once you soak her and block her out, the garter oozes, so she gives you size. Now you may not want that much size, in which case don't block her out so hard. I love a big shawl. This is 3 skeins of fingering this shawl, so she's got a nice amount of size in her. I wear this one a lot, actually. I really like this shawl. And then when you get to the end, you've moved into the lace. Now that lace is not going to look like anything before you block it, so you'll want to open all the lace up. You'll show all those beautiful eyelets and the shaping in the shawl. And then when you come to the end and you've bound off with this piqué edge with this lovely shaping, because we're picking up from the shaping in the lace down the bottom, you will pull each of those out, either with a wire through each of them. But what I might do, because there are not so many, is I probably would do it with individual pins, and I'd pull them out and block them and pull them out and block them, and that will open out that lace and let it shine, and it will also give you that little rippled edge at the end. So all in all, she is a really good one for blocking. I made the tassel at the end and then put it on last. I didn't do that before I blocked her, but she really sings. Haven, she's called. She really sings once she has had a good blocking. She's a fabulous one. You can wear all sorts of ways. She's one that I often wear if I'm going somewhere like out for a concert or out for dinner or something like that. I wore out for dinner the other night. She's a nice one to wear like that, because you can just throw her. Oh, this is not the right side. You see, it's so hard getting dressed in this mirror that's back to front. You can throw her over like that. You can put her on bandana style. You can tie her up with a bit of a shawl pin up here, but she's so pretty. She's really, really pretty, this one, and she just feels so lovely and light. So yeah, I've forgotten what I used for that. What did I use? This is I think this has got a bit of, I think actually maybe they're all, I'm trying to remember if any of them have silk in them now. Maybe they're all merino singles. They could all be merino singles in this one, I think. I love the way this one's got all these little spots of colours that come through, and you really see that once you do block her. You really see it accentuates any of those little details, because it opens everything up and lets it all settle. So those are perfect for using all of the tools I've talked about so far. Now I've already mentioned garments. I'm not going to go over garments because I've already talked you through how I do a garment. And garments generally, when they're a bit heavier, they want to just stay where you put them, but I often will flip mine, and so they'll be lying on their tummy, especially in the winter. I won't do this to shawls, but because they're generally a bit lighter. But for a garment, I will let it dry mostly on its back, and then I'll come in and I'll flip it and I'll put it on its tummy, and just to give it a bit of air at the back. I saw recently there was this amazing tool that someone's just brought out. Was it Cocoa Knits? Was someone? And it's like a thing like that, and it has wire, and you lie your sweater over the top of it. Now it would make it difficult to pin anything down, like your button band and stuff like that. But if it's a jumper, that might be quite good to do. And I know Bronwyn, who's watching, although she's probably gone to sleep now, Bronwyn. It's probably dribbled on for so long you've nodded off. But Bronwyn has got this incredible, I've actually sent Mr. Myrtle a link to it, Bronwyn. I've said, this is a good birthday present. This is what I said. It's this beautiful wooden frame from, is it from where you're from, Bronwyn? In Devon-y way. I've forgotten where you're, Devon, around that way anyway. Cornwall, you're Cornwall. And it's like that. It's a wooden frame. And it's got these 2 arms that go out, and then this body in the middle, just out of wood, and you put your jumper on it. Oh my word, it looks amazing. I want one of those. I really do. So anyway, I put my order in. I don't know if he'll do it. But okay, so that's garments. You configure garments, I think. I've talked enough about those. Now the third thing, this is something else I wanted to show you very quickly, was socks. So I have beautiful sock blockers. I do like blocking my socks. Now you don't have to block socks. You can just put them on your feet. But I do like blocking socks. There's something really satisfying about finishing something and then blocking it. It just feels like I'm completing the process, and it really just settles the stitches beautifully. And also, if you're knitting everywhere like you do with socks, you pull them out and you put them back and you pull them out and you take them to the whatever you're doing, they get a bit dirty. Oh, it's from Shetland. Oh, great. Thank you, Bronwyn. Yes, from the Shetland Isles. And you're still awake. It's amazing. It's lovely to just block them, and then you feel like, oh, it's all finished, and it just, everything feels special and lovely. So I have very beautiful sock blockers, which someone really kindly gave me a set of these, and they're so pretty, and they've got holes in them, which is great for drying things, and they're very light. So I will put socks on them like these. I'll put this sock on it. I've forgotten what sock this is. This might be, it's either Florence, Eliza, or Maggie. It's not Eliza. I think these are Maggie. I'm pretty sure these are Maggie. I've got 3 sets of socks. DK, these are DK socks, which are cozy, which I have in my box out here, and I really should take inside because I should be wearing them at this time of year. Anyway, I put them on like that, and I have got, this is my size, 37 to 39, 24 centimeters. That's my size. So you get the size that you're after. And there they go. And don't they look cool? Don't they look just like, oh, I made those socks. Look how well I turned the heel. Don't they look fantastic? Oh, I'm liking the toe that I did. You can admire them like that. And they will dry, and they will be sock shaped. And they will all be just beautifully. The stitches will be settled. Everything will just be fabulous. So those are one kind of sock blocker. Now you don't have to get bought ones, because my very first sock blockers, which I still use, are these. This looks like something out of blue stockings. I don't know. It's just, these are the kids' old painting boards. We had these, Mr. Myrtle made painting boards for the kids out of this plywood when they were little, and we had quite a few of them because he got quite a big sheet of ply. We've still got painting boards, and so they have been painted on. But I lay a sock on my ply on one of the painting boards, and I ticked it. Yes, this is the shape of my sock, and my foot slightly different to my other sock blocker. This is legit off one of my socks. And then he cut it out for me, and then he just sanded the edges so it didn't pull on any of my socks. I've got 2 identical ones. He just cut them out with a jigsaw. And then I can put my socks on like these ones. These are little Jilly socks. And you just pull them on like that. And even when they're diddy like that, they look so cute on the sock blocker. You just get them right. You do the whole damp thing like you like to. Does blocking socks affect the size? Well, yes, because I think what happens is you get the right length. I think we've got the same issue. You get the right length, so then you get the right width. Now, your feet will do that because your feet are hot and sweaty. And so your feet will adjust the socks. But if you want to slip on socks that you know fit you perfectly, or in the case of these where you actually just want to open up the pattern a little bit and you just want to make that little pretty bit of lace at the top there, because these are toe up, these socks. If you want to make that look pretty, it's a nice idea to block them. And if they're a gift, it's a really nice idea to do this if they're a gift, because then they just look beautiful, and you can roll them up and you can tie them up with a ribbon or whatever you want to do. So I think sock blocking is a little bit of a luxury, but I think it's a nice one, and it doesn't take long. And so those are my original sock blockers, and they're not hard to make. You just need a little bit of ply and off you go, and they're easy peasy. So those are socks. And then lastly, I wanted to show you hats. So for some hats, for a lot of hats, you can just block them flat. And so for this one, this is a, what's this one called? A thinking cap. This is one of the thinking caps. I just soak it, and then I lie it out and block it flat. And I have a little pom-pom that I actually put on after it was finished. These are the little pom-poms. I can do it again and again because it has a little dome on it for this fun little pom-pom. So every time I would wash it, which I haven't washed it again, I would take the pom-pom off it, and then I would just lie it flat, and I would take my tape measure, and I would just make sure that it was the size I wanted, because you don't want to stretch out your brim on these hats. I like this little hat. This is a cute hat. I should pull this one out too, shouldn't I, and wear it this winter. It's a real cute one. And I used Zalana yarn for this. It's a worsted weight yarn. It's really nice and tweedy. It's a good yarn. Anyway, that's how I would do a lot of hats. You can get away without having too many tools. But if you do want a couple of tools, you've got tools like this, which is my grandmother's hat block. It's got her name on the bottom. And you can use a hat block if you want. This is, I think it's got a size on it. Oh, there we are. 21. This is a 21-inch head for this hat. So women are generally about a 20 to 22. And so this is a good size. This is my Maximus hat, and it's a nice one if you want to round out the brim. This is very head shaped. You could use a balloon. Balloon is not head shaped, but it still works. You could use a balloon just to open out that crown, and in this case the ribbing, and get those cables at the front to lie straight. It is quite a satisfying, when you feel the top of a baby's head like that. It's quite a satisfying feeling the top of a hat. But so you could dry it like that. It's not quite long enough. It's made for making hats, not blocking hats. Well, it is made for blocking hats, but for hat block, for hats, that don't go down. So this one's a bit longer, but I just pull it all the way down because I think of it as doing the top of the head rather than anything down here. And anyway, you want your brim to be a little bit smaller so it can get a chance to dry in a little bit at the bottom. And then the last thing that I do for hats is this, and I actually really, really like this method, and this is putting your hat on a plate, and you stretch it over the plate. So I've literally got a dinner plate under here. This is a smallish dinner plate. This is a smallish beret. This is just a wee little beret, this one. I love this one. This is called Peck on the Cheek because she's just little, and you just see, she's just a cute little beret. She's not a big beret. You can get real sloppy berets. Oh, I've got hair in my mouth. You can get really big sloppy ones, and she's only sweet. But see how she's got that little beret shape to her like that? You make that with the plate. And so she's only small, so she's got a smallish plate. This is probably the size of plate we should use, but we have slightly bigger dinner plates than this, unfortunately. But she's a small dinner plate, and then I just put her on with the curved bit at the top of the hat. That's the way I do it. I'm sure other people do it however they want. That's the way I do it. And so I have the center of the hat, which is that cute little I cord, goes in the center of the plate, and then the bottom goes underneath, and then it can dry small, but you get that rim in your beret. You could do it for all sorts of hats. It doesn't have to be a beret to create that beret shape. So and this is excellent. You just leave it on that till she's dry, and then she dries like a beret, so it's perfect. Let me just see your comments. There's so many comments. Hang on, let me just see. Craig, Yvonne says, when my garments are almost dry, I pop a pull noodle through the arms and hang it on the line. Well, that's a good idea, Yvonne, to do that. So those pull noodles, those foamy ones, if you have, if you make sure it's almost dry, that would be my piece of advice, because if you have something in it that's a heavier yarn that wants to hang, it will hang. So that's why I quite like using my tape measure, because I know that it's going to end up that size, and that's the way it is. But certainly it would get a bit of air through it, that's for sure, wouldn't it? Karen says, I love all my knitting blocking tools. Next will be that steamer. I love the steamer. It's so handy, the steamer. I've used it so much. She said, next, total fan of blocking now. What a difference it makes. Blocking day is a bit dramatic for me as I have spinal majors, but I get it done. Or it would be, Karen. Do you find it easier to do it on a table? You could set yourself all up on you almost need like one of those big sewing tables, or a couple of those pop-up tables, that you can get from the hardware shops that pop up the legs, and some of those together would work, because you wouldn't have to lie all over the floor. Because I have to say, getting up and down off that, I really can feel it when I've done blocking the day before, but with your back, I'm sure it's hard. The pull noodle works well, says Jane. Oh, so there's another person with a pull noodle. Good. Do I always gauge? If so, how big do you make your swatch? I'm going to talk to you about gauge another day, shall I? Yes, I do. Yes, I absolutely do. Not for shawls, no. And I don't. I think shawls are one of those things where I just like to live on the edge, and so I don't swatch for shawls. I will if I'm really working something out for designing. I will swatch for shawls, but for size, if I'm knitting someone's shawl, I don't tend to swatch. But for garments and hats and socks, I always swatch. Always swatch. So I will talk to you all about swatching. Another day. Where do I get the pom-poms from, please? I think I got this one from Fibre to Go, but I think I did. Just have a ask at your they're called faux fur pom-poms. It's faux fur, and it has that little button. I can't remember if I got it there or not. I've got a few of them. Some of them also have elastic and a button, and so you just can pop it through the crown of your hat with a button on the other side, and it doesn't pop out. That's quite a good way to do it too. Or sometimes they just have elastic and you can sew on a button yourself. Hi Bernadette. An alternative for blocking, she says, blocking wires I have used is 1.2 millimeter TIG welding wire, stainless steel. It's not quite as flexible as what you showed, but it works well. So 1.2 millimeters. Yeah, it's very, very, very fine. It could be that mine is a 1 millimeter or even 0.9 because it's so bendy. So it could be that just be slightly finer than that, but yeah, that's good. That welding wire is what people use. And old guitar strings, do they work quite well, Becky? Do they not have a do they have any grip on them? Because I like, or are they just nice and smooth? I suppose they wouldn't. Sometimes they can have a I feel like they can have a little bit of coil on them, like what am I talking about? And like a spiral engraving thing. But if they don't, or if they're smooth, even if they do, then that would work quite well. What brand is my steamer? This is my steamer. I will show you again. It is a Sunbeam steamer. Sunbeam. But look, I hadn't seen one of these. When I was in the States in 2019, I was in Portland, and I saw these things in the shops there. And I thought, flip, I want one of those. I want to take one of those home. And they had all sorts to choose from, all sorts. And I haven't seen that many here. But recently I've seen, well, maybe I looked and I couldn't really find what I was looking for here. I didn't get an American one because our plugs are so different. Our plugs coming out of the wall were just horrendously powerful. So I didn't get one from the US, but my brother gave me one, which I used for a while, which was one of those, it has like, it was tall, and you use it for steaming clothes, but actually it was hopeless, and I couldn't get the water just got a bit mucky, and I couldn't get clean out the cavity for the water, so I ended up getting this one, and there's a few more of these ones around now, Sunbeam, but you just want a handheld steamer. If you had a battery, it would be pretty good, because then you wouldn't be constrained by the cord, but the cord's not too bad. All right, everybody, that is blocking in a nutshell. That was a long session today, but that is how you make your knits look absolutely, truly magnificent, is a good blocking. Whether it's a shawl you want to expand, whether it's a cable that you want to sort of really round out, whether it's stitches you want to settle, whether you've put it down and picked it up and you can see where you've changed using, you've changed over time, not necessarily your gauge, but just where you've picked things up and put them down. Blocking is just wonderful for getting rid of all of these little imperfections in our knitting. So I thoroughly recommend doing it, and hopefully now you've got a better feel of how to do it. All right, everybody, I will see you same time, same place next week. Don't forget, if you want to stay in touch with me, jump on my mini mag list. Just go to trulymyrtle.com/minimag, just one word, MINIMAG. Jump on my mini mag list. It is the best way to stay in touch with me. For those of you who are curious, or if you want to learn more about this kind of stuff, this is the kind of thing we go over in Wardrobe Toolbox, and more, so much more. We talk about fit issues and making things fit you, and we learn so much about yarn choice and tools and just your body shape and what looks good on you and all sorts of things, techniques and everything. We do all of that over in Wardrobe Toolbox. The doors only open twice a year, in March and September, so we're coming up to the time for the doors to open again. There are people that are in Wardrobe Toolbox. The majority of people in Wardrobe Toolbox have been in Wardrobe Toolbox since season 1, and we are just about to come into season 10. When you come in, you get access to everything that's been before, and you have the opportunity to buy the patterns at a reduced price that we've had before. You'll get new patterns and new lessons and new material every month, new guests. It's always fun. The community is absolutely wonderful. We don't use Facebook anymore. We still do for now as well, but we're going to stop soon. Sorry, guys. And we're going to go over. We've got our own community, our own what do we call it? Forum, where we chat, our lounge. And it's really, really good. It's really good. And people, they come to learn about how to fit garments and they stay. That tends to be what happens. People just love it and they join and they stay. Some people come and go. They learn what they need to do and they go. Other people, they just come and they stay. And it's really, really lovely. Oh, the next pattern. Oh, yes, Becky, you've made it. The next pattern. We're getting a new pattern on Monday in Wardrobe Toolbox. So that is me today. That is everything from me. Keep an eye on all my stuff so that you know when those doors do open. And I've got a new pattern coming for you. It's nearly here. I haven't quite finished what I wanted to do with it, with what I want to wear with it. So I'm getting there. It will be here soon. And otherwise, I will see you same time, same place next week. Happy knitting, everybody. And block those knits. Block those knits. All right, everyone. See you later. Bye.